Jeff, I think you should play the role of my father.
I don't want to be your father.
That's perfect, you already know your lines.
Your personality is often considered as a product of your past experiences, of first-hand social conditioning, and the choices that you yourself have had to make. But to what extent are these definitive of your character? Do second-hand experiences measure up to become a discernible factor in affecting who we are as an individual? To answer this, let's take a look at Community. Community is a groundbreaking television series created by one of my favorite human beings, Dan Harmon, who you might also know as the co-creator of the very popular television series Rick and Morty. Community revolves around a bunch of very different individuals, differing in both appearance and ideology, who, by some turn of events in their lives, end up having to get their degrees from Greendale Community College. Community is a show that extensively uses pop culture as an instrument.
I like it. It makes every 10 minutes feel like the beginning of a new scene of a TV show. Of course, the illusion only lasts until someone says something they never say on TV, like how much their life is like TV. There, it's gone.
In a multitude of references to movies, art, and music, not specific to a particular time period.
I want to wait for a more inspiring song. The score isn't right. There we go.
It uses this instrument for a lot of different functions. One of these, the most notable one, is how it parodies regular tropes from film and television.
Well, I see how that would be frustrating, but the fact is...
Your ass is on the line.
My ass is on the line.
You just got off the phone with the mayor.
I just got off the phone with the mayor? Stop doing that!
I'm trying to help. You're not doing this right.
This in turn forces cliches to dissipate, because it stops story writers from thinking, is this a cliche yet? To them being told, stop doing that, it's overdone. But that's not the function of pop culture that Community uses that we're going to talk about now. Let's take a look at one of the show's most iconic characters, Abed Nadir. From very early on in the show, Abed is established as being not very understanding of social norms or social etiquette. But the fact is, never in the show does Abed find himself handicapped in a social environment, or find himself being shut down in a group, or have difficulty in assessing the feelings or emotions of the people around him just because he likely had a pretty uneventful childhood. He actually does all of these things better than his socially skilled set of friends.
I also know you have thinly veiled rage issues. Careful, boy.
Abed uses his immersion in pop culture as a medium to draw parallels with the events in his own life, to understand and assess the people who he encounters on a day-to-day basis. And in doing so, pop culture provides him with a familiarization with any possible situation, even those that he has never encountered in his own life. And that is the beauty of what pop culture, or in fact any form of immersive fiction, can do. Familiarize us or condition us to things that otherwise may be totally alien to us, that may throw us off our guard. To get things clearer, let's take a look at the Netflix series Stranger Things. Stranger Things is set in the town of Hawkins, which is described to be a place where nothing ever happens. We follow the show from the perspective of 4 very young protagonists who we find are deeply invested in 80s pop culture.
Like Professor X. It's from Lord of the Rings.
More like a Yoda.
Like Michael Myers.
That's like R2-D2 going to fight Darth Vader.
The film, the music, and a whole lot of
Fireball
Dungeons &
cast
Dragons.
protection.
In the course of events of the show, the array of characters, which include adults, adolescents, and our young protagonists, are faced with very unnatural and sometimes even horrifying experiences. But in the face of adversity, it is found that it is the children who find it easier to cope or understand these situations more easily. Why is that? Because through pop culture, they've encountered similar things, but in a fictional world. As a D&D party, they roleplay as adventurers defeating a demagogue, a horrifying being from a parallel darker universe. So, when faced with an unnatural murderous monster whose origins no one is quite sure about, the young boys try to understand it with the tag of their fictional demagogue, while all of the adults in the show are left dazed and confused. The point that we're trying to make here is that fiction in all of its forms can open your mind. Open it to a much more vaster array of opinion, possibility, and thought, rather than if you would never indulge in it. How can you explain how fiction does this? The answer, I believe, lies in vicarious reinforcement. Vicarious literally means something that is experienced in the imagination through the feelings or actions of another person. Thereby, vicarious reinforcement or vicarious conditioning would be the learning of various attitudes, feelings, or beliefs, not through direct exposure to a stimulus, or let's say not through first-hand experience, but through observing how others react to it. Now, if you accept fiction or popular culture as a form of vicarious reinforcement or vicarious conditioning, it thereby makes it the most deep and extensive form of it. So in some way, the consumption of fiction continually prepares us for what would otherwise be the unknown.